All right, I'm here with Jane Robinson. Jane is a Jackson, just a treasure in Jackson. She's been active for many years in the Jackson community with her artistic talent and combining it with her entrepreneurial flair. Jane has been kind enough to invite us to her studio, which is in her home here just west of Jackson. And Jane's going to start with a tour of the studio, and here is Jane Robinson. So Jane, could you tell us what you have here, what kind of work you're doing?
Well, this is my studio, and if you can look around, it's really messy, and I kind of like it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I've picked up a bit for you guys, but I seem to work best just in my element and just keeping it very casual and messy and that. But I have enough space, and I add tables to teach workshops. So people come, and we spend a whole day just discovering our kind of abstract creative nature.
So you actually teach down here in the
Yes.
studio?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And what is really popular with the workshops is the fact that they are designed for non-artists, for people who just want to really explore the kind of right brain experience of painting.
People like me who can't draw stick figures but have a
Yes.
desire to become more creative that way.
Yes. So I teach the techniques and different ways to get different looks with the paints and different materials you can use and that. And we have lunch, and we have a glass of wine, and we go upstairs and show off our finished pieces at the end of the day. And
How many people would typically be in a workshop?
usually no more than 12, just because of the space. So
Yeah, this is maybe a standard size basement, but yeah, 12 people would certainly fill it up.
right. And you can see I have tables, and let me move my canvas, so and then I can put up a couple more, but yeah, and about 12, and that's also a good size, just because we kind of bond.
Yeah.
And we can really share and talk about our creative experiences and that.
Basically, it looks like you have 2 workstation or tables and maybe a half a dozen around each table.
Right.
I found, and I think there's some literature to support, half a dozen is an optimal small group size. When you get much bigger than that, it's kind of hard for people to share. Too small, maybe not enough input. So having about 6 at each table sounds pretty good.
Yes. Yeah. And they enjoy it, and we have a lot of fun. So.
Great.
Yeah, so I, come down here, and I just can paint to my heart's content, put on my music, and I can be here for a whole day.
Now, obviously you have a lot of talent in art and in painting, and we'll see more as we walk around. Also a passion for entrepreneurship. When did you start linking those two? How you could apply your artistic skill and your creativity to entrepreneurship, which is really important to being a successful entrepreneur, but you've done it in a very artistic way with a lot of flair. When did you start putting those two together?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. As one, I knew that no one will care more about selling my work than I will. And every artist wants somebody else to do it for them.
Oh, really?
We just like the studio, and if we could find an agent who would just take over that part, to us that would be ideal. But artist agents aren't very popular anymore. And it's hard to find one. And then with galleries, the whole world of galleries is changing, and that's due to the internet. And so I thought and I believe it's just an exciting time to be an artist, because being here in Jackson, Michigan, but I got the whole world at my fingertips just because of that internet. Otherwise, I would have been very restricted to my geography and opportunities, but that changed.
I agree with you. The internet is changing everything. Quick question. When they had the artists, was it agents you said who would sell the artwork for the artist or promote it? Was that very effective?
Well, no. In some cases it could be, but they also then take their cut. The gallery takes their cut. And they are peddling the wares of, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 artists. Well, now those artist agents are really called online galleries. And they jury you in, and then they sell your work for you. They have the bigger budgets and that, and can get in front of a new audience. But they still take their commission.
it seems much better than the old model. It's interesting. We didn't have much of a conversation before we turned on the camera. Just last night I was at an inventors group meeting in Jackson. They meet over at Jackson College. And they had Mike Suman, who's an entrepreneurship expert in the Jackson area, does a lot of work with Meyer. Meyer, you know, is their world headquarters in Grand Rapids.
Right.
I might have said Jackson, Grand Rapids. And Mike said when he used to work with agents who would sell to Meyer, they'd say, we get 2 chances to speak to the buyers at Meyer every year. We get about an hour, and they have a book with maybe 200 people they represent. And they said, honestly, we might get to you, and we might not. And if they do, so they're just flipping through there, and they get maybe 5 seconds. And so the success rate was so low under that old model. But the model you're describing, through the internet and more of an active involvement of the entrepreneur himself or herself, really, I think, adds a lot and increases the success rate.
And it puts the control in your own hands.
Mm-hmm.
And even without getting into the online galleries, which are a couple, you know, really prestigious ones, build your own website, and then you have the control of how you're going to market, how you're going to tell your story,
Yes.
how you're going to share it with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and then use social media and get other people talking about it.
Exactly. And passion, all the research shows passion is the most important thing for success. You just exude passion, and I don't think you can just plug that into somebody else. Even if they're getting a lot of money to represent you, they're not going to have that same level of passion. Now, if you can partner with someone who shares that passion, that's a winning combination, but the chances of that are not really high.
And that's what it goes back to my first point. Nobody will care more about my art career than myself.
Yes.
So I want to be in charge of it.
Wonderful. Okay. Great. Maybe later we'll talk a little bit more about what you're doing on the internet, because I know you have a really cool site and you're actually conducting some classes on the internet. But while we're here, can you show us a little more about your studio?
Well, I guess you can see that. I mean, I have paintings all stacked up.
So it's all, could you, for those of our students who are really into painting, could you tell us just a little bit more technically what you're doing? Is it all painting that you do, and what kind of media do you use? And,
I do all painting.
Okay.
And it's acrylic painting.
Acrylic, okay.
Because it dries very fast,
Mhm.
unlike the oil paintings, and so I can build layers and put depth into it and that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the beginning. Once I complete any one of these paintings, then I have to photograph it.
Hmm.
So I have a nice camera, and I have to pick a sunny day in Michigan, and I have a spot outside that's in the shade. There's special rules about getting the best image for your work, because no matter how beautiful your painting is, if you're not photographing it well, it's not going to show well on the web or to anyone else. And plus, if you're trying to sell it on the web, it needs to really reflect how it actually looks. You don't want to disappoint a buyer, or the other way, the photograph so bad that they aren't even interested.
Right. Yes.
So then I photograph them, and then I upload them onto my website, and then I start using that piece to do some social media and tweeting and Facebooking and talking about it, or write an article about the inspiration for my art blog.
So you have your own blog on your website.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then a couple of the online galleries. One that I'm involved with is called U Gallery.
Okay.
And they're pretty big. And
Is it Y-O-U or just the letter U?
just the letter U.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just accepted as one of the few galleries who can show the work on Amazon.com.
Nice. Talk about huge distribution network.
Absolutely. So then I have to take any of my new work and I send the image to them, and then they decide if it is juried in or sets the standards of what they want. And then I have that piece exclusively through them. I can't sell it anywhere else.
Okay.
So, because if someone bought it and then they contact me, whoops, I sold it. That's not good for them. It's not good for my reputation.
Okay. And this is a fairly new procedure that you're following?
I've been doing this for a couple of years.
So you've sold some pieces through this
yes.
network, and it's working out pretty well?
It works out really well. They
Great.
send me a box as soon as it sells online. They send me an email and say, congratulations, you know, this piece sold. They ship me a box. I put it in the box. I take it to UPS or Jackson Pack and Ship, the mailing label's already on it, everything, and it just goes. I don't have to do anything more than that.
Oh, terrific.
And then they send me a check.
What about return policy?
They have a 7-day return policy, and I do too, even on my own website. You buy a piece, and I know right now some people are still a little nervous about buying online. So if it doesn't fit or look the way you thought it would, or doesn't even fit that space that you thought it would, send it back. No full refund, no questions asked.
Now, some people would resist that, some entrepreneurs, because it entails some risk, maybe even shipping costs. But think from the customer's perspective, it's a confidence game, especially if you're buying over the internet. I think that's the biggest barrier. You don't get that, as you mentioned, that face-to-face contact. You don't get to see it in the light of your home. But if you take away that risk and say, try it in your home. If you don't like it, send it back. My guess is, and I might be wrong here, that you have a very low return rate. What would you say?
Well, so far I've had no return.
Zero is a pretty low rate.
Because once you get a piece of art in your home, it always looks better in a home than it does as a thumbnail on a website.
Great.
And so then they're often sending me photos of the pieces in their homes and saying, oh, look at it, it worked out just perfect.
Great.
But like you said, it gives them the confidence, but it sets me up that I'm a professional business. I am here for their benefit.
Right.
I want to make them happy.
Yes. And if they get that sense, then it's all about confidence and trust, and they know that they can trust you. Oh my gosh. They're going to be recommending you to their friends, and
come back.
You're going to grow
and
your
there'll be
business.
repeats or accept,
Have you found that a fairly good repeat rate? Customers are coming back?
I haven't had a lot of repeats online. I do at art fairs.
Okay.
They come every year and say, oh, we bought something last year, now we want another new piece. And that. But the word of mouth and all of it, it's priceless.
It is. It's the best way.
It's good marketing.
No replacement for that, I agree.
Right.
So what kind of art fairs? Do you do a lot of face-to-face fairs, would you say, in the course of a year?
I don't do a lot because it's a lot of work
It is.
eating up every one of your weekends. So I pick art fairs, and anybody should do this. I mean, if you have a student or somebody who wants to sell their wares, regardless if it's a home expo show or an art fair, do your homework. I do my homework. I don't do craft shows. I don't do well at craft shows because people want to spend about $50.
This is higher level.
Yes. So I want a fine art show with good traffic and good market. My best shows are almost always along the Lake Michigan coast. Get a lot of vacationers.
Summertime.
Vacation homeowners and Chicago people. And they come and they have no problem whipping out their credit card to buying a piece of art.
Great. You know the sweet spot. Do you do Ann Arbor by any chance?
I don't do Ann Arbor. For me personally, it's just too big.
It's very big.
And it's just, I don't enjoy going to it even anymore. It's just kind of sensory overload for me. And to be one of the 250 and the 5 different art shows they have, how do you stand out? How do you, make your own, and plus the setup, all the logistics of it.
Yeah.
So I try to pick small shows that have high quality, that are easy setup, good team support there to support you, and and just all the things that make it more fun.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Very good. All right, and you've been doing this for how long?
Well, I've been painting for 10 years.
Okay.
About 10 years. And I've really been active online for about 3. And I mean, it's a hard, slow process. Sometimes you have great success, sometimes you get discouraged, but my thinking, and this is what I was telling another artist the other day, is I could stack my studio to the ceiling with paintings. But I don't want to. I want to get them out of here. I want to sell them so I can buy more paints. I can keep doing what I'm doing. And because the creating part is just part of who I am. I'm always going to do that. But to support it and get the income to keep doing it, you have to put it out there. And
that in itself is not an uncommon model, but what I don't see is where people embrace entrepreneurship so much that they become authorities, and you have become that. You teach classes, and I've had the privilege of sitting in on one of your seminars where there's just a great deal of detail about the business aspect of becoming an entrepreneur. When did you start making that connection where, first of all, where you knew the business aspect was very important, but then you thought, wow, I can actually share this with other people and start another business, really, which is a teaching business?
Well, a couple of years ago, I started a blog, and I thought, how can I inspire people rather than just an artist blog where they talk about their work, them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started a blog called Art Epicurean because I would cook a meal inspired by my painting.
Oh.
And then I'd put the recipe on.
Oh, neat.
Well, but I found out, you know what, I don't like cooking that much. And it really was just adding more work. Now I've got to paint, now I've got to cook, now I've got to photograph all of this, get the website up, and all of that. And so the blog kind of started morphing into living a creative life. But then, about a year ago, everybody started contacting me about my experience in selling art and asking me to meet with them and how did you do this, what do I need to do, how should I do that. And so I thought there is really a need that other people need to know what I've learned about setting up the business side.
So the market really drove you into it. It was more people calling for this. You identified the need because they were coming to you saying, we need this, and then it was just seemed like you gravitated toward it.
And that, yeah, but the other part of it is I want them to be successful.
Great.
I know lots and lots of creative people, and I want them to be really full and satisfied and build a business and earn money. They're very talented, and I want them. So part of it was them, you know, asking me, and the other part was I really want to make a dent in my community because I believe we build our communities through entrepreneurship. And
you're not going to get an argument from me. You and I are aligned there, but continue, please. It's beautifully put.
So I think that the best gift that an artist could give for themselves and our community is building a successful business from their creativity. And so I really think that it will not just shape them, their business, their pocketbook, but it will start to shape our whole community, and the ripple effect of communities doing this will change our state, and I think it would be just a great thing.
So in the class we talk about the three circles or the three elements that are essential to be a successful entrepreneur. Some of this comes from Jim Collins, who's an expert on it. The first is passion, and the passion is clearly there, not just in the art, but what you just expressed in your passion to help others become successful. You can't fake that, and you've got that. The second is the talent. So again, not only do you have the talent of painting, but you have the talent of knowing how to commercialize it, and you've done it for many years, and you've been successful. So that's the second circle. And the third is actually building that economic model where you can have a sustainable income, and that's where you're going with it. So it's wonderful. You're hitting on all cylinders. One thing I wanted to go toward was, I know you were involved in this, was it the Armory Project?
Yes.
A few years ago, where the old Jackson prison, built in the 1800s, was being transformed into some kind of artist guild?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more? I don't know if you want to go upstairs for that one, or...
Yeah, let's go on upstairs and we can finish that conversation.
So I'll just go ahead and pause it here for a second, and we'll continue.